Yes, thanks for staying with us on the Sports Show. Time to get to the AFL tips. You boys were on fire last week, so well done.
Yes, I know.
Well, we won't go any further than that. Let's
I
just
gave
see.
you my smoky last week.
You did give it, and you were correct.
And I was spot on.
Yep, all right, let's see if we can back up this week. Richmond sit in first spot tonight, of course, up against Geelong at the MCG. 18 wins in a row for the Tigers now at the MCG.
I'm sick of that, Phil.
Sick of them winning at the MCG?
No. I'm sick of people talking about them winning at the MCG. That's where they play.
Yeah.
They've got 4 more games to go, and that's where they play.
Yeah. Well, what'd it be like saying the Power have won 18 games at home?
At
Yeah, but hang on. Where else do they play?
Well, they play at Adelaide Oval, don't they?
I get a little bit miffed with that because
They play at the MCG?
exactly. They're like Collingwood.
Well, where do you want them to play?
Well, mate, they shouldn't.
Well, they could go to the Gabba. They could go
Yeah, they could
to
travel
Perth a
once in
couple of
while.
times. They
Let
go
me
to-
say this, boys. 100,000 members gets you the right to play on the biggest ground that's available, doesn't it?
No. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, you're right.
No, I don't agree with it. I think it's a joke, personally, that they get to play that often at the MCG. Every time they poke their nose out of Victoria, someone beats them.
Yeah.
Well, come on.
This year, yeah.
I mean, a terrific effort, don't get me wrong. 18 in a row is excellent. There's
Yep.
no doubts at all about that. But when you play there 20 times a year, you're going to win some games.
You are,
aren't you?
no
Against
question.
sides that play
but
there
I'm saying, in fairness,
twice a year.
I'm saying, in fairness,
Once a year.
In fairness, though, has anyone else got a record at, at West Coast are good at home? Have
I
they
mean,
won
it's
18 in a row at home?
That's irrelevant. I think it's all irrelevant. I just don't think...
why is it irrelevant?
Because I think that the AFL is...
teams have to travel to play there.
Extremely biased towards sides like Richmond, Collingwood, Essendon, these teams that play the majority of their football...
It's because of the
at
crowd so bad.
MCG.
You have to accept it's because of the fan base.
No, not necessarily.
Well, you seen North Melbourne playing?
Not
Seen St
necessarily.
Kilda playing?
Well,
Carlton playing?
North Melbourne used to get, 8 Friday night games a year.
Oh, well,
Carlton get now 6.
Yeah, Friday night games.
I mean, at the
So
end of the day, though, if you want to say is it going to be fair, it's never going to be fair.
No, I agree with that.
Because the Melbourne team's home and away game is when they play each other in Melbourne.
I agree with that. My point
Make it
was-
19.
Make it 19. Yeah, all right. Will it be 19?
Richmond for me.
Yeah,
Richmond for you?
Tigers will win it.
Tigers, yeah?
19 in a row.
All right.
I don't mind that, but just stop talking about it.
All right, let's not talk about it then. Let's go to Saturday's game. Hawthorn in 7th spot, Essendon in 11th at the MCG. Hawks have won their last 2, Essendon their last 3. Both teams have actually lost 1 in their last 5, though. Their current 5-game form coming in is identical.
Essendon for me.
Essendon.
I reckon they've got a little bit more,
Okay.
bit more to offer than what Hawthorn have at the moment. When you watched the game last week, it was their pace around the footy, ability to run and spread that caught Sydney.
Yep.
And I think you'll find the same thing with Hawthorn.
I'm going to Bombers.
Bombers?
I like the Bombers, yeah. Got good speed.
reckon they're-
And I've not been a fan of the Hawks all year.
No, you haven't liked the Hawks all year, have you?
no.
Essendon are hard to pick, though. They have that
They are
game
very,
where
very
they
hard to
play
pick.
really good, and then the next week not
yeah.
so good. So
Yeah.
I reckon the Hawks might sting them.
Hello.
Brisbane sit in 16th spot. North Melbourne in 10th at the Gabba. A loss last weekend for the Lions. They've been going along all right up until that too. And of course, North Melbourne had that massive win on the weekend, so they'd be feeling pretty good about the win over West Coast.
Well, that was my smoky.
That was?
North Melbourne beating West Coast. Only because it was down in Tasmania and whatever. I like Brisbane here, but then again, I like Brisbane. This is at the Gabba, is it not?
It is at the Gabba.
I like
Yep.
Brisbane. Brisbane are a pretty good side.
okay.
They're an up-and-coming side. They've still got a lot to play for. They still look like they've got a lot to play for. They're
Yep.
playing like they've got a lot to play for. Not their season's dead. But at the Gabba, I think they ran the
be a
Crows
chance.
to 5 points.
Yep.
I just think they're a bit of a smoky there.
And earlier in the season, they ran Collingwood to 5 points
Exactly
as
right.
well.
And Port to 5 points.
So at home, their form's pretty good.
I like Brisbane.
But again, credit where credit's due. North Melbourne
Are very good.
are very good on their day, and I've got a feeling that there's still a mathematical chance for them to make the 8. So I'm going North on this one.
All right. St Kilda sit in 15th spot. The Bulldogs in 14th. I love this. It's at Marvel Stadium, of course, which is
What was that? 15th versus 14th.
15th versus 14th. The Saints have lost their last 2.
Who cares?
The Doggies their last 4.
You can't say
Okay, let's put a line straight through that one then. Rightio. Give me something, eh?
St Kilda.
St Kilda for you.
St Kilda for me.
Rightio. Okay. Crows sit in 12th spot. The Power sit in 4th spot. Showdown 45. You know how you're sick of hearing about the MCG?
Yeah.
I'm sick of hearing Showdown 45.
Yeah.
I'm sick of hearing that. I didn't mind 1 or 2. I thought that was early days, but now we're at Showdown 45. Who won the Showdowns the year before last? Anyone?
Adelaide.
Now, mate, I know...
No. Yeah. One each the year before. Last year at Crows too, I think.
Who won the premiership?
Richmond.
Yeah, okay. That's my point.
Yeah.
So I think it's great
MC.
that it's got some...
Playing at the MCG.
Played at the MCG. How would that be? Oh, that'd be something special, wouldn't it? Let me ask you this, though, before we get to it. Crows home game, how many Power supporters will go to the Crows home game? 4.
4.
How many...
2 boot studders and a... They can't handle it.
Is it the other way around? What about when the Power play? How many
it's pretty
Crows
similar.
supporters go?
It's pretty similar. I think
Is it disappointing? Is that disappointing?
In a sense, it is, Phil. Because I think the showdowns used to be there a lot of banter going on. There used to be a lot of social media banter. We're coming to get you. No, we're going to flog you. Now it's nerves. Now people don't go because they're
Nervous about the game.
Nervous about the game, and I think both sides are like that. But I don't think too many. I'd like to see a lot of Power supporters get there, but if you read between the lines, I don't think a lot of them go anymore because they don't get on very well with their crosstown lads.
But we were talking earlier off air. Has it lost its bravado with the likes of Chad Corns and whatever?
I reckon it
not
has lost a bit of
being.
that.
It's still a tough game of footy.
Yeah, I understand.
Is
It's
it
still
any
a,
tougher than any other game?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's a big one. It's rammed home to the players. It's so important to have bragging rights in a 2-team town. It's important.
Is that a concern, though?
No.
That one game is more important than another game? Well, shouldn't they all be equally as important?
Of course they should. But it's a bit like going.
I know
to
there's an
finals.
emotive, so we've got the emotive
there's
component, and that's
there's
what
an up
does
in
it.
intensity a little bit. Just a little bit.
And the fans are talking about it, so the players get
Exactly.
caught in the
It's a
hype.
big game. It's a very big game of football, and it shouldn't be underestimated that it's a big game of football. This one in particular. I mean, the Crows.
Well, they could finish their
Well, I'm not sure whether
mathematical
the Crows
chance
can
for
make
finals,
it anyway.
but-
They've got to win.
But it affects the Power. Certainly, if they lose, that 4th spot starts to get a little bit shaky for
Well, if the
them.
Crows win 5 out of their last 4, they can get in.
You idiot. All right, let's have a look at some of the stats, boys. Power are ranked number 1 in clearances. The Crows are equal 8th. So we know that if you talk to the coaches, clearances, stoppages is the big stat.
Yeah.
Robbie Gray's got 3 showdown medals. Will he get a 4th?
Gee, well, could. But that's the thing. These games, the big players win the medal. You go back over all the showdowns, and it's the really good players that win the medals. It's not a fringy type player.
No.
It's always the big games. Always the
they
big
step up
players.
for
So
it. Yep.
it can go either way with there. It can go Robbie Gray or it can go Sloane.
Yep.
They're good players, and they get up for this, like well up.
All right, Jacobs v Ryder.
Well, at the moment, you'd have to say, well, just looking at Jacobs the last few weeks, to me, he doesn't appear to be getting up and down the ground as much as he was. But then again, I don't think Ryder is either at the moment, like he can.
Yep.
So it's a pivotal duel and hard to separate them.
I think it really depends on whether they're going to Port Adelaide are prepared to gamble with Ryder up forward. Because if they leave him on the ground and up forward, I can't see a match for Adelaide. Or Keith maybe because he's about the same size, but doesn't have the leaping ability of Paddy Ryder. Ryder could hurt Sam Jacobs by staying on the ground and playing up forward when he's resting. That gives Port Adelaide a really it gives them virtually a 2-pronged attack. If Paddy doesn't mark it, he'll bring it to ground, and then you've got the likes of Wingard and Boak and Gray, or 2 Greys, to crumb. And again, when you go back to the last showdown,
That's a good point.
When you go back to the last showdown, that last centre clearance, tap,
Ryder.
wide, outside, Motlop, goal.
Yep.
Win by 5 points.
All right, if you could pass that on to Hinkley.
I will.
Yeah, you could just let him know that the Pres from the Southern Footy League recommends this is the way to go.
He's been
in saying that, boys, is it the Crows or is it the Power?
No, I'll go. I'm going for Port, obviously, but I truly believe they can win anyway. I mean, this is not a
bias.
just because I'm working there or doing anything like that. I think they can win. I think there's more on the line for Port. There's a lot on the line for Adelaide, but there's more on the line for Port.
But they need to improve a little bit, Port Adelaide,
Of course they
in
do.
regards to their disposals. Again,
We've
you look at
spoken
last
about
week's game, some really bad decisions made at costly times until the last quarter, and then they kicked into gear.
Exactly right.
But
look at the conditions there, mate,
but
as
you've got to bring that to a showdown. You've got to bring that to it.
Yeah.
I'm going Adelaide.
You're going Adelaide. All right.
Oh, you lunatic.
Sydney sit in 9th spot. Collingwood in 3rd at the SCG. Sydney have lost 4 of their last 5.
Sydney are done.
Well, Collingwood beat them in round 3 at the SCG, so they've got no fears.
No.
at the SCG.
That's a tight one. But right
last year they beat him at the SCG.
Out of the current sides that are battling to either stay in the 8 or out just outside, Sydney are gone.
All right, so Collingwood for both of you.
Yep.
Carlton are in 18th, GWS in 5th at Etihad. Carlton had their second win last week. Is that going to make any difference
very
in this
good
game?
one. No, gone.
Gone.
No, GWS. Too much for them
GWS
to
won
lose.
7 of their last 8.
Yep.
And they've been away from the MCG as well to win 7 of those 8. So.
And they are realistically looking at the way they've played that last 7 games. They are a smoky.
Be careful we don't peak in July, mate.
No. They're a smoky.
Well, really interesting, isn't it? Because Leon Cameron was getting pillared early in the year, and
Massively.
some saying that he needed to get sacked as coach. I hope those people that said that are now rewriting what they
They're
said.
the same people that said it about Nathan Buckley.
Exactly right. Yep. All right. Melbourne sit in 6th spot. Gold Coast in 17th. They met in round 6 this year. Melbourne were up by 22 points at half time and then 13 goals to 6 for the second half. Gold Coast were terrible last week after beating Sydney the week before.
Shocking last week.
Melbourne were good against the Crows, certainly
Very
in that
good.
third quarter.
Played well.
Is it going to be any different to
No,
that?
Melbourne will beat them. Melbourne will beat them.
Do you reckon that Stewie will get a response though? Do you
He'll
reckon
get a
there's
response.
a response?
He'll get a
There's
response.
too much on the line, Phil.
Until about half time, and then
Same result after
then the
half-time.
same result after half time.
Yeah, too much on the line.
West Coast are in 2nd. Freo in 13th at Perth Stadium.
The big derby.
Well, West Coast surprised me. They sit nicely in 2nd spot with a game up their sleeve. So it's a big game for them just to keep the gap. But I don't reckon they've had a season where you would have thought they sit nicely in 2nd spot.
No.
No,
Are you surprised?
yeah, it is. And again, when you look at the result down in Hobart last week, as we said, it was always going to be a bit difficult to travel all the way down there. At home,
Against Freo at home.
I think West Coast for
West
me.
Coast?
Yeah.
I think West Coast will win, but to me, I liken them a little bit to the Hawks.
Yeah, well,
Just a bit wobbly.
Freo have lost 4 of their last 5, so I reckon West Coast are gone.
They'll be building.
Boys, before we go, because the season's starting to head towards the end, Brownlow medal's starting to get talked about a little bit at the moment.
It is. Yeah.
Can I throw these 2 names at you? Tommy Mitchell from Hawthorn and Max Gawn from Melbourne. Anyone else jump out? I think Max Gawn's probably, the front runner, just A, because of the way he's playing, but because his size and the way he's played around the ground, I reckon he just draws your attention. Mitchell gets the ball a lot, but doesn't quite stand out in the way that he's going about it.
Yeah,
That's a good point, Phil. He doesn't stand out.
That is a good point, but I go back to the days of Greg Williams.
Yep.
He was an accumulator. Wasn't the flashiest player around as well,
Smooth operator, though.
but he was. But then Tommy Mitchell's a smooth operator.
Had a name.
Yeah,
You know,
but Mitchell's building a profile.
Yes.
And I've got a feeling that you come Brownlow medal, if Max doesn't win it, Tommy Mitchell will be, I reckon,
close.
within the top 3.
Okay, not too many big blokes.
No, that's
Not
what
too
I
many
think.
big blokes are winning it lately.
No.
The Brownlow. Mitchell is an accumulator, but whatever. I think he's obviously a very good player. But I'm not sure whether he. I think he's a 2-vote getter.
Yeah.
He's one of those.
Not a 3-vote getter.
He's not a 3-vote getter. I don't mind the guy from Carlton as a smoky, Patrick Cripps.
Well, he's playing some pretty good footy.
And he's in a
Yeah, but-
side that's not.
Yeah, but he's not going to be. He's
He'll
not
get
going to get
votes.
enough. Yeah, he's going to get votes.
He won't get
but he's
enough
not
big
going to get
ones.
enough big ones
Yeah, that's true.
because of the situation at Carlton.
And Justin Westall.
And
Or Justin Westhoff. He could be a smoky, couldn't he? He's had a pretty
It's
good
gonna
year.
be an
He'd be
even-
the best and fairest for Port Adelaide, I think.
He'd be up there.
Yeah.
It's going to be an even year here.
Yeah.
Laird's another one. Laird, you've got to throw in the mix.
For the Crows?
Yeah, you do.
He'd be their best and fairest. I don't know if he'd get up in the Brownlow, would he?
Yeah. But if you think about the year, with a lot of players being out injured, Dustin Martin's got to be in there again, even though they say he hasn't had a good year.
He was good early. He's had a bit
Even
of a
though he
rough
hasn't had a good
physical
year as last
class.
year. Last year was an exceptional year.
Yeah.
So he's still going to be in the mix, as is a few others. So that's a tricky one.
All right. We'll hold our petrol on that. And,
Yeah,
maybe we'll charge the motors up a little bit next couple of
Absolutely,
weeks.
yeah.
Time for us to go, guys. Thanks for coming in as always. Mate.
All good.
Pleasure to have you, Baz. Brilliant as always, mate. Hope you've enjoyed the show, everybody. Look forward to your company next week. Bye.